Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so we got some Laker news. Lakers have signed Alex Len, are going to waive Christian Wood to do so. And it's probably the right move because the Lakers couldn't use Christian Wood. We had got no update on his knee that he had surgery on for the past, it's been almost a year now. Waiting for his high upside, but his defense wasn't going to help us. He was more so a luxury of athletic height and length. Maybe some rebounding, but if he's not going to come back healthy, then we can't afford to wait on him any longer. We got too many other roster spots going to places that ultimately we can't use. Bronny James, Maxi Kleber. It's just, we need to be utilizing roster spots and waiving people that can't help us. So that's really what it comes down to. I think it's the right move. I expect that Cam Reddish will also be waived at some point to make way for something. I just don't think they're going to bring him back in. Asking both players who got traded in this Mark Williams trade to come back and play for this team afterwards, I think is a little much. Connect, yeah. Reddish, probably not. And so that's my take on it. Of course, when you waive these guys, you still got their money on your books, but you're going to help yourself by getting those who can't be used off the team so that you can put on players who can, and that's ultimately what it is. So I understand that Christian Wood was expiring anyway, so it's just what it is, man. We wish Christian Wood the best. I know he's a Long Beach kid, so this kind of hurts to get waived, especially when the team's about to look like they could potentially do something. But the best ability is availability, and if you don't have it, it ain't a whole lot we can do right now but move on from you. So that is the situation there. Alex Len comes in. We like Alex Len for size. 7-footer, lottery pick about 8-9 years ago, something like that. He's a role player at this point, but in a lot of situations we could just throw him on the people and he could give us the type of length and hopefully offensive rebounding, maybe some defensive rebounding, lob threat to a degree, just kind of help us in whatever way he can. He was a high-level player coming out of college, but it just never panned out. But that doesn't mean that he can't still be a serviceable big for what we have going on, which is a dire need for a center to just be a little rim protection, have good hands. That's pretty much all he needs to do is just play about 5 minutes, 10 minutes if we need him, garbage time if we need him, against specialty circumstances, so that we're not asking Bron to play the center, so that we're not asking Luka to kind of play some center. We don't want players that are not supposed to be banging up against bigger guys to do that. So this is what this does. It gives us a player who can come in, be at play at potentially a higher level than maybe Trey Jemison. Not quite as high as Jackson Hayes. I still expect Jackson Hayes to start in this situation, but I do expect that Alex Len probably jumps ahead of Jemison, and it's just more of a useful piece that we can actually do something with, rather than having it so that we're still standing here waiting for Christian Wood to come back, only for his deficiencies to ultimately not be great for us. Now, he can stretch the floor, Christian Wood. Alex Len, you do not expect to stretch the floor at all for you. So, I don't, in a nutshell, think that Christian Wood is a worse player than Alex Len, but Alex is healthy. Christian is not. It is literally that simple for me. So, welcome to the squad, Alex Len. I've seen you do good things with Sacramento. I remember he had a stint with Atlanta. Of course, he was drafted to Phoenix, but they never actually had intentions to start him, so it was weird. They drafted him, I think, 3rd overall or something like that. Never really had a role for that player to actually do anything. So, if I'm not mistaken, that's how that went. But I don't really remember. But he spent most of his time in Sacramento. Did some good things there in very short and limited roles. And he continues his career with the LA Lakers. So, we're just adding a lot of new stuff to our situation, man. That's really what it comes down to. I appreciate what Rob is doing right now. A lot of the moves that he made leading up to the Doncic trade makes a bit more sense to me. And so the fullness of it gives me another perspective to say, okay, we weren't just dumbing down our overall talent level like it looked like we were doing. It was alluding to something that was ultimately going to make a lot of sense once we got the Doncic trade done. So, as I said before, I think Rob has pretty much done a fantastic job when you consider the pieces that we have in place right now complement Luka, complement one another, and although we're not a good defensive team on paper, because of the high-level defensive talent that we have on the wing, and because he gave his mid-level exception to Gabe Vincent, he's now playing well, you got key defensive players in key areas that help your basketball team overall defensively. So these are the things that we're ultimately most pleased with when we look at the Lakers, that we can get some stops here and there, we can score 130 points, and then now, bringing in Alex Len, we do have someone to throw at the big, heavy centers to at least get 6 fouls on them. You know what I mean? That's literally it. So that we don't have to throw guys that we don't want to throw at them. That's what is most important. And I don't care that Alex Len really not play that well. He has to be competent, obviously, but you don't have to come in and play his best ball for us. Just come in, do your best, and from there, when it's time to have your number called, take some of that punishment against some of the bigger centers out there that ultimately are very talented, but ultimately we just didn't have the size to even compete with. So, I don't expect him to be a Jokic stopper or nothing weird like that. Obviously, we know what level of player Alex is at this point. But when it comes to banging around with Steven Adams, we need you to take that assignment, along with Trey Jemison. And hopefully we can call up Christian Koloko as well and just give ourselves overall center depth. And then whoever's not playing well, whoever's not up to par, we could just, use whoever is on that given game. Or if somebody rolls an ankle, we're not still in a position where we're asking players that shouldn't be guarding bigger players to do so. And that's ultimately what I hope that we gain from this situation. So, yeah, that's my take on that. Welcome Alex Len. Yet another player that we think is going to make our roster more full and make our roster make a lot more sense. And hopefully cater to the overall roster health. Because I think that's really what you're helping yourself with. Just more players that you can count on to be well enough to give people a breather, well enough for guys to not have to rush back from injury. And that's what it's about. When you have too many players on your roster that are on the IR, you're counting on fewer players to play for one another and play more minutes and play bigger roles. Getting a guy like Alex Len allows us the choice to pick from Jemison and Koloko, Hayes, and now himself. So that, in any circumstance, we're never quite thin. So this is awesome for us in that regard. And I want us to continue to do that. I want us to continue to look for more players that can support some of our rotation and hopefully getting rid of more people that we can't necessarily use. For me, Maxi Kleber, it would be great if we could get him off the books. I don't think it's possible. Since he's not necessarily expiring, it might be a little too much to be waiving him. You probably want to hold on to him and trade him at the deadline next year, get something for him. But for me, I think it would be a great benefit to turn him into a player that we can actually use. Now, he may be able to be utilized in the playoffs because from what I understand, he could be potentially back soon. So if that's the case, within 8 weeks, which is not very soon, but you get the point. Before the end of the season, he could potentially be a rotational for us. I think that could help. But if for some reason they decide they don't want him to come back or he's not going to be ready or whatever, we're still a little thin as it pertains to bodies. And that's ultimately what the concern is. So, that's one body we can't use. Of course, Bronny James is not a player we can utilize. And so it's just what it is. Now, I got to also thank Alex Len because he had a deal with the Pacers in place that he reneged on so that he could take our job. And that's great for us, I hope it works out for him as well. Playing in LA, hopefully he plays good ball and, gets himself more opportunities to continue to keep his career alive in the NBA because, I think this is just great exposure for him. Great exposure for him. I don't think he's ever played for a team this paid attention to, so You know, he'll have new eyes on him, and maybe even if it doesn't work in the NBA, maybe some overseas people will be looking at him differently as it pertains to bringing him on to extend his career with them. Because, you know, once you got Luka the Don on your team, now you got international people also paying more attention to your roster. So this is good for a guy like Alex Len to have eyes on him just in case he wants to go to Europe if for some reason the NBA doesn't call his number anymore. So, you know, that's what I'm seeing there. It's just an opportunity. I want the Lakers also to really take a look at Jordan Goodwin, man. I know that it's been said, I was listening to some content today, they were essentially saying that Jordan Goodwin is going to be difficult to retain unless we do some other things that ultimately kind of put the team on a little bit of a strain as it pertains to our books and things like that. But the way that he's playing, I wouldn't be upset if we picked him over Shake Milton. I think at this point he's outplaying Shake Milton pretty clearly. More serviceable, more helpful for us. He's a 6'3" player with a 6'10" wingspan, which is outrageous when you consider that. And it really caters to him getting 50-50 balls and rebounds, and he's just aggressive. And I think he's done amazing with his opportunity here with the LA Lakers. And he's earned enough, in my opinion, based on what it is we have, to have made the team. He's outplaying people, you know what I mean? So that's what I want to see the Lakers do. At this point, reward him with, in the short term, giving him more minutes, and in the long term, putting him on the roster if we can. You know, or making his two-way a bit more guaranteed or whatever that would be. Because at this point, he looks like he's going to be very helpful, a lot more helpful than Shake Milton, if I'm being completely and utterly frank. And so, yeah, I know Shake's on for another year. He was probably somebody we were kind of forced to take in order to make the Dorian Finney-Smith trade happen. I don't think it was one of those situations where the Lakers picked him out of a hat, but more so the Nets were like, all right, if you're going to get this deal done, this is part of it. Take this dude. And, you know, that's what it is. I just, you know, it's tough for a guy like Shake because you're playing in the same garbage time minutes with a guy like Jordan Goodwin who's just hungry, man. Who's aggressive or hungry. He ain't bashful. He ain't shy. And when you have a guaranteed year on your contract, you're just not as hungry. But the reality is, for me, you should be, because I'm gonna cut you and keep him in this situation. And I just don't know that Shake Milton is really gonna react with the urgency necessary over the next game or two with this being the case. I hope he doesn't think this, just because his contract's guaranteed, that we won't stretch it. Because at this point, I think it's in our best interest to do so and just let Jordan Goodwin hold that spot. You know, he's a better defensive player, better offensive player, more energy. Like, I mean, come on, man. At this point, you got to show me something. And although Shake did play well in one game, and we pointed out even game player of the game, he got to do more. You got to have some urgency. When you see the other guy putting out some urgency, I got to see you push a little harder. And I don't see that urgency. I don't sense that he's ready to really go all out and push himself like Jordan Goodwin is, and that's to his detriment, man. So for me, it's like if I got to choose between one or the other, I think it's pretty easy at this point to take Jordan Goodwin and send Shake Milton where he has to go, man. Because I'm not of the mindset that he's a good rotational piece for us, man. Shake Milton, I'm really not for what we got going on. Too passive, not good enough shooter, not a good enough defender, just kind of okay at times. Passive energy is just not going to cut it. Not when you're dealing with a hungry basketball team with a lot of stuff going on with it. And when you need the type of tenacity that he brings to the table, Jordan Goodwin that does, you can't afford to let him go for a guy that's just kind of jogging around, a little scared. Nah, we can't. I can't see us actually choosing Shake Milton over Jordan Goodwin, even with Shake having an extra year on his deal. We can't do that. We can't afford to. So that's my take on that. I think most of Laker Nation probably agrees at this point. Shake, we wish you well, brother. We don't have nothing bad against you, but we really need a lot of energy, man. And Jordan Goodwin brings that to us naturally. And so that's where I'm at. I expect that the Lakers will make the tough decision to do that. I think it's the only decision to make at this point. So yeah, that's my take on it. I don't hate Shake, but I do love what Jordan Goodwin's doing, and I'm not ready to let that go for really any reason at this point. Not when a player takes his opportunity that seriously. Absolutely not. So yeah, that's what I want to say there as well. I don't think it would be a bad idea to waive Markieff Morris if we have something in the buyout market that we can replace him with that is better suited for what we need. Markieff is a healthy body, but I don't think he's an NBA player at this stage anymore. He's serviceable to hit a 3 or 2. That's cool, but he looks a little old to me, man. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I thought he was already old back when we won the championship in 2020. It's 2025, so you know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't want to be mean, you know what I'm saying? But at this point in time, I really need healthy, energetic players ready to go, man, literally. I don't need any more wasted roster spots on players that may not be able to help me if I call their number. And that is the cut and dry reality of it. So if the Lakers move him off the books and bring in another healthy body or call up Christian Koloko, or that is a great idea. If that's what they want to do, I think it makes sense. He's not the first person I'm cutting, but he's got to go, in my opinion, if we're serious. If we're serious, I think you move on from him. So yeah, that's just what it is, man. I don't particularly say that with a lot of pride, because that's someone who won a championship with us. He helped our team a lot in that situation. Maybe he does have something left in the tank, and if he does, he can really be a helpful piece. I know how talented he is, or how talented he's always been, so I'm not saying he still can't be a legitimate player to stretch the floor and stuff like that. But as it pertains to me expecting that this is a good idea to have him when we are limiting healthy bodies, and got Luka Doncic, who's not in great shape, and LeBron James, who's 40 years old, to try to keep healthy. No, I need all the healthy bodies I can get, all the capable guys I can get. And if I can afford to bring in somebody or call up somebody who's going to be more of that for me, that's probably my responsibility if I'm Rob Pelinka. I still believe in Quincy Olivari too. I still think that Quincy Olivari should have been given an opportunity. It might be a little too late in the game. We might be a little too win now to be taking him on at this point. But I would love for his two-way to be turned into a real roster spot for next season. I think that is something that we should really be serious about as it pertains to that piece. I don't want to see him go nowhere else. And we already let him go off into the wild, waiving his two-way spot. He came back to our organization, and I think it's very, very important that we don't make the same mistake twice. So, like I said, I don't think you're going to call him up this year, but he needs to be called up for next year. You know, that's a serious piece right there at the shooting guard spot. And given the fact that we're utilizing some people in the shooting guard spot that are not exactly permanent solutions, it makes all the sense in the world for us to take that prospect very seriously. So that's my take on that. I just think that we could use that piece. Because Gabe Vincent is in place for what? 1 more year? That's like the best shooting guard we got off the bench behind Austin. I like it for now. I like what he's doing for us right now, but am I actually serious about re-signing him? I don't know, man. Depends on how things go from here, but even so, I'm going to want somebody to kind of be a prospect behind him. Austin's got that shooting guard spot locked and loaded. We know that. But who's behind him? You know, and that's important. So I think we're in good shape for this season. But come next year, we got to figure that out. We got to really figure that out. And, you know, just since we're talking about Austin Reaves, how well has he been playing, man? How well? Some guys, you tell them you're getting a certain player, and all of a sudden they just start playing great. You know, this is what I was saying about when you feel your competition coming in and you want to showcase that you're good so that you don't lose touches or don't lose minutes and stuff like that. Austin Reaves is really showing all of us, hey, just because you got Luka Doncic does not mean at all that I'm not here to compete for the leading guard spot here. I am. I am. And that is exactly what I'm taking from him. I don't think he's in competition with Luka Doncic, because Luka Doncic is incredibly accomplished already and obviously naturally gifted in some ways that Austin isn't. But when you consider production for production, he's making a case that, yo, you got a big three here. It ain't just LeBron, Luka, and then guys. No, it's LeBron, Luka, Austin. And then, guys, that's what he's saying right now. And I'm smelling what he's cooking, man. I'm smelling it. It smells good, too. Because I think his strengths are still on display. You give him enough touches, all he's going to do is be a part of fantastic ball movement. All he's going to do is continue to be a viable threat that needs to be considered by the defense. And when you got Luka and LeBron, they're going to draw so much attention to now a guy like Austin Reeves has an easier path to doing all the different things that he's been doing, likely against lesser defensive players, as to which he would have hardcore on-ball defenders on him when AD was on the team, and it was just AD and Bron and him. Some of the best guard defenders had to be on him. He would get sometimes double teamed and have to deal with a lot of bodies thrown at him. The type of gravity that Luka and LeBron create, and the fact that Luka plays the guard, you got to put that best guard on that dude. You can't leave Luka alone. Not only that, but you could put your best guard defender on Luka. He's still going to cook him. You need to double Luka. You need to double Bron. When they got it going, you need to triple Luka. You need to triple LeBron. They don't have enough players on the floor to guard these people. And now you're talking about Austin Reeves playing at this high of a level. And you got to now take him into consideration as somebody you got to guard very well too. He's going to start demanding a double team at this point. I don't think it's wise to leave him alone at all. And you're going to. And then you look at Rui Hachimura, same thing. It's like Rui's a hyper efficient player. His superpower is that he doesn't miss very much. He ain't that good at a lot of things, but he hits more shots per attempt than most players at his level. He's hyper efficient. That's the thing about Rui. So you're going to leave him open? You know, one of the things that we talked about 2 years ago when we lost to the Denver Nuggets the first time was that the problem with us is that we couldn't execute down the stretch. We didn't execute well enough. We could do all the meat and potato stuff, rebounding, this, that, and the third. But if it came down to the final 5 minutes of a basketball game, two things we couldn't do. We couldn't guard Denver and how well they executed each and every possession, connecting on shots that they needed to hit. And we couldn't out-execute them. We were brick shots when they would make them down the stretch of basketball games. So we needed to become more hyper-efficient executing offensive plays down the stretch of basketball games. I think that's why the Lakers look so highly at Rui Hachimura as a player that they would rather not trade, even in the presence of other circumstances where it made sense to a lot of people. It's because of that particular superpower versus that particular deficiency that our team has had in the playoffs. You don't want to move on from a guy that barely misses when your biggest problem you've had in the playoffs is not being able to execute down the stretch of basketball games. Hitting shots. You know what I mean? So for me, I think we were right on time with our evaluation of the importance of Rui Hachimura based on that. And now that we have this dynamic in place, he's really expected to hit damn near every shot he takes because he's not going to be guarded very well. Because you have to take into account LeBron and Luka and Austin at all times. So that leaves him open, and they're going to find him. Both of these players are, the best there is at finding players in the corner and finding guys moving on cuts and stuff like that. This is one of the reasons why I like Dalton Knecht for this roster too. Even though we were in the midst of moving him and we're at peace with that, I still think that he's an excellent off-ball cutter. And when you have playmakers that are looking to make passes, those off-ball cutters are more valuable, just like lob threats are more valuable. So for me, Dalton Knecht, at this point, is probably going to be a very valuable piece for our playmakers. Because when you have him on the floor with those guys, he's a part of a hyper-efficient executing team. May not be very good defensively in theory, but if Dalton's hot, look out. You know what I mean? Especially under these circumstances where the defense ain't going to be able to zone in on him at all. Really, no matter what the rotation is. Because of the fact that we're going to have LeBron, Luka, or Austin on the floor at any given moment, or a combination of both or all three. So it's like if Dalton's on the floor with any of these guys, any combination of them, and he's playing like he's capable of playing, you're not going to lose. He's going to make sure that he hits all his shots. Rui's hitting all his shots. Austin, Bron, and Luka are doing their thing. and you just scored 145 points. This is why I didn't want us to necessarily move on from Dalton, although I think the importance of us having a center might be a little more important to us. Now that we had that trade rescinded and we're bringing back Dalton, if he can get his behavior into a space where he's at peace with the trade that was made, his piece makes more sense now that we have multiple ball movers at a Hall of Fame level. Luka the Don is going to utilize him just like LeBron and Austin would. So it's more likely he's going to find himself in positions to where his off-ball cutting and his spot-up shooting and his ability to draw space is going to mean more to this team. So I hope he's bought in. I hope the young fellow buys in. We got on his case in the last video because I was very concerned that his body language showed me that he may want to check out mentally. And this is not the time for him, especially as a rookie who struggled all season long for the most part, to check out. And I get it. They traded you. It's a business. You know, and that's what we were talking about in the last video. We got on his case because I didn't like the body language. And he said to Rob Pelinka, I believe he told Rob, hey, I'm going to need some time to process what just happened here. It's going to take some time. Can I have a few days? I'm okay with that. Whatever he has to do to get right, you know what I mean? A part of me gets a little frustrated, but the more understanding side of me gets it. Like, yo, yeah, this just did happen. Young guy, messed with your confidence, thought you were going to Charlotte, probably cried about it, you know what I mean? I get it. Now they rescinded the trade, you're back with the Lakers. Now you got to go back in the locker room. How you feel about everybody? You think they were on board with it? What did you read while you thought you were being traded about where you were leaving and what they thought of you? Can you go back in there and think it's the same thing? Probably not. But at the end of the day, it's like, bro, you better snap out of that bullshit, excuse my language, because you're with the Lakers. And we got some playmakers that are going to make you look great. So I don't know what the problem would otherwise be after you heal. You think people don't like you? Who gives a damn, man? You play basketball, and this is a great basketball situation for your piece, period. That's all there is to it. You're a scorer. You got players that are getting you the ball, man. So this is a situation you otherwise wanted to be in. This is a situation you thought you were going to be in. It was almost taken away from you. It was given back to you, and there ain't no reason to be upset about that at all. That's what I tell Dalton Connect, man. Get over it, bro. Because this is an opportunity for your piece to make a lot more sense than it did when AD was on the quad and D'Angelo and then people was on the squad. Your team is significantly more capable of showcasing your strengths now. So get on board with us, man. Get on board now. That's what I tell you. If you got to take 3-4 days to lick your wounds, do that. Come back with a good attitude because it's time to work. And I'll tell you right now, you don't get too many opportunities to play at this high of a level. You're going to spend your whole damn career on bad teams after this, man. I've seen guys do it. Look, ask Kyle Kuzma. Ask Kyle Kuzma. You know what I'm saying? Like, literally. Take it for granted being on the Lakers. And then you find yourself with the Wizards for the good portion of your career. Ask Jordan Poole. Ask Mark Williams. They know. It's just not, you know what I mean? There are worse situations than being traded from the Lakers and then being sent back to the locker room with Luka now on your team. Like, nah, there's worse situations than that, brother. I think you should get back in that locker room, feel damn good about that, to be honest with you. But I understand everybody got to go their own way, and, you know, it might have been traumatic for him thinking he was going to have to go to Charlotte and think about his outlook and going forward. I don't doubt that he might have a hard time with that, but it's time to get your act together at this point. So, yeah, that's what I tell him, man. Act together. And we made a video about that in the last one. And we talked about it at length, just like we talked about it here, man. So I like Dalton Connect before this happened. I want to continue to like him, you know what I'm saying? That's really what it is. I don't want us to look at him and say, oh, this guy is going to be insubordinate because he's heard about being traded. I don't want to think those thoughts, especially when I believe in what he can do and really think he's going to be a hell of an option in the future as he develops next to Luka Doncic. You know, that's really what it is. You're going to develop right next to him. Luka's your age or a little older than you. The future is bright on this team, man. Charlotte wasn't going nowhere. So this is a good thing for you, man. And if it makes you check out from the situation and you play yourself, that's what it is. Play yourself. So I hope Dalton can feel confident, man. I hope he feels wanted. I hope he feels like he's out of the doghouse or whatever the word would be, and get back here and play the role he's supposed to play and play better, man. Play better. In the process of all of this, remember, there is a inconsistent sort of a reputation that you've picked up as a rookie. Nobody's unhappy about that. This is what it is. But if you start becoming consistent, they can shake that off rather quickly. You can shake that off rather quickly. If people start saying, yo, this could be a piece that we can utilize in the playoffs. This could be a piece that we can expect to get us 35. Rather than just, you never know when he's going to do it. And so that's what I have to say about Dalton Knecht. This is the NBA, brother. Big boy pants for real. But, yeah. So I think LeBron's handling this very well. I would love for him to continue to be intentional on not turning the ball over as much, if at all possible. I think you are obviously one of the greatest players to ever play this game. You believe yourself to be the GOAT. We picked up a player who we think could probably do a lot of great things in this league and maybe put himself in that conversation if he reaches his overall potential. And I think a part of your legacy at this point is wrapped up in this kid's success in the short term. This is part of LeBron's storied history. Now he gets to play the role that Dwayne Wade played when he first came to the Heat. And I think he's done, in the first couple of days, he's done a great job. Telling Luka to fit in, don't fit out. Wearing the shirt. Welcoming Luka in the way that he has. I think that that's been the right way to start, man. And if Luka buys all in and the healing process can start with Luka, I think you could be the answer to you getting over the hump as it pertains to championship glory. We have 4 NBA championships. You want to be the GOAT, that ain't enough. And I love Anthony Davis, but I didn't think the ceiling was championship anymore there. I really didn't. Not based on how we had to build, based on everything that was in place. At this point, I'm back on board with saying, we can win something. Within the next 3 years, I think we can win something. I really do. If we make all the right decisions from here, and Luka takes his conditioning seriously, I would not rule out the Los Angeles Lakers getting another championship banner up before LeBron James retires. I would not rule that out. I don't think the field is as devastating as it needs to be to keep us out of it right now. Now, if the Golden State Warriors still had Kevin Durant and that team was still intact, I would say, yeah, probably we still have a team that we just are not going to be able to overcome. We're not talented enough to overcome. But right now, are you telling me the best team in the NBA is Oklahoma City Thunder and the Boston Celtics? That's not good enough to beat us at our best. It's not. I'm telling you right now, they're not going to have any answers for the puzzle of how do you stop Bron, Luka, and Austin. They're not going to answer for that. And so that's what I'm telling you. I don't think, especially the way OKC shoots, they're going to get overpowered, man, by the experience and the overall talent of those 3 people. I don't think OKC wants to see us right now. I really don't. I do not think so. That Denver is the team that I still have a concern with. It's because Jokic is that great. I think Jokic could probably do what he does if you put 10 players on the floor instead of 5 next to him. You have 10 players guarding Jokic. I'm still certain he's still going to ball out. Like, he's one of those guys like that. Problem is, so are LeBron and Luka. And, this is when it becomes a situation where only time will tell if Anthony Davis's overall mindset catered to a lot of some of the issues that we had against certain teams. I'm not certain that it was or not. Obviously, physically, he showed up for us. But he also had circumstances where he really did not play well against certain types of talent. And that was just what it was. So this is not I'm certain that AD being moved out now changes the DNA and we're more dogs and killers. I don't know if that, I don't think it's respectful, nor am I certain that that's what it is. But what I can say is that is what is crossing my mind. I'll say that. Without any certainty, it's crossing my mind that a lot of what was going on with our passive DNA as a franchise came with Anthony Davis and his overall mentality and approach to a lot of basketball games against certain talent. I think it may be. And when I think about us moving him out and bringing in Luka Doncic, I just think that some of that, for which is considered passive or timid, is replaced with something that's like ferocious, killer. From afar, Luka looked like an absolute killer, man. And I don't think Anthony was a killer like that. I don't particularly think Bron is a killer like that. But Luka, I think Luka from afar looked like an absolute murderer, man. And I just want people to know that killer instinct, if he has that DNA is now in our situation. And I don't think we have the same fate that we had against some of the same teams that we've been losing to every single often. I don't think it go the same way. When you move out AD's DNA and move in Luka's DNA, I think your confidence overall should take a massive boost. That's just what I think, man. There's a lot of times where I just felt like AD, coupled with LeBron not being a killer, kind of made it so that we were talented enough to beat teams, but not willful enough to destroy teams. You understand what I'm saying? We weren't willful enough. We would roll over and sit down sometimes. And I think a lot of that came with the meshing of D'Lo and AD. And then Bron from there kind of having some of that in himself. And you remove the D'Lo AD factor, I don't think it go the same way with the Denver series. I don't think I have to fear Denver in the same way. May still lose the game against them, but it ain't going to be the same way. You're not going to have leads all the way through the first quarter, second, third quarter, and then lose in the last 5 minutes. I think a lot of that, and I'm telling you, I really believe a lot of that had to do with just the overall spirit of some of the guys that we've let go of. I really think that, man. And as I always said, LeBron James going to feed off whoever next to him. If you passive and don't really have it, you're not really energetic, he kind of going to follow that. If you a killer and you going to go after somebody, he definitely ain't going to drop in his energy as it pertains to what you doing. You lead, he going to follow, and he going to kill all the way through. It's just, that's what LeBron feel like. That's his personality to me. I feed off your energy on my team. If you a killer, I'm a killer too. You passive, we passive. You scared, we scared. You fearless, we killing. Like that's what I take from LeBron James. He's just kind of an extension of whoever his co-star is. So Anthony Davis at times was like, he play well, but then it's like, we can kind of, there were times where it's like, damn, AD, you really don't want to attempt more than 9 shots, huh? No, I'm gonna focus on the defensive end. And it was a certain energy that came with that. You know what I mean? It was. And I just think it catered to some of the stuff. I really think it catered to it. It wasn't just some of the issues with our roster. It wasn't just poor coaching. Some of it had to do with just the approach that the players had. But when you remove the players that have that approach, and then you replace it with a killer, I think you take on that DNA. And so that's what I'm hoping. I hope I'm right about that. I'm sorry to AD if he takes offense to that. I don't have any blame with him taking offense to that. He carried our team. He did so much for our roster. It ain't like he wasn't an NBA champion. We got over the hump with him, but I couldn't help but look at D'Lo's passive. Yeah, sometimes I show up. If my shot isn't falling, it's just, all right, let's jog back down. And then AD's sometimey, it wasn't a I'm looking at you, I'm taking you out type of energy. It was I don't know if I'm confident today. If I am confident today, then we can go forward. That type of energy just doesn't work. And so that's my thing. I truly believe that it was a combination of two of the players in our starting lineup that have since been moved out. And I think Austin Reeves is a killer, but wasn't leading the team because that's not his cachet at the time. I think he's grown since. But like he couldn't blow past people, you know what I mean? Especially with D'Lo next to him. Defensively, it was a problem. And he's taking on stronger defense because a lot of the defense pointed at him, as we've already mentioned, on the perimeter. You just move in that elite point guard at 6'8", who can't be sped up nor slowed down in Luka Doncic. And now, Luka being a killer, Austin's killing mentality gets to be raised to the forefront. You know what I mean? It gets to rise to the top of the glass, so to speak. And now you got two killers pushing past people in LeBron James, barreling past people, feeding off of those killer instincts. I just think you're in for a treat, Laker Nation. I really believe that. I think natural mentality has a lot to do with outcomes, especially when you start seeing that, okay, we can't win because we're wearing this uniform. We can't win because that guy's from over there and we don't ever beat those guys. We can't win because, well, we just don't have a whole lot of confidence against this team. We must avoid this team. It's like, who's leading this? And you look at the top of your team, it's like, okay, those are the people leading this? All right, you remove them. Let's see if we still acting like that. I doubt it. I doubt it. I'm just being honest with you. I doubt it. So we'll see. We'll see. That might not be a hot take. That might be a bunch of bullcrap. But I'm just telling you, this has crossed my mind that sometimes you just got to remove some of the key guys that have certain passive energies to them, talented as they are, reliable as they may be, and they got certain passive energies that sometimes they just don't show up. You remove them and you replace them with killers. Now you're going on a mission. Now you're going to 9, 7, 10, 12 game winning streaks. Like, it's just, that's what I think is coming, man. I think we're going to beat a lot of teams going forward if we could keep these guys healthy. And then the return of Vando helps a lot. The insertion of Dorian Finney-Smith coupled with Vando helps a whole lot. Can't underestimate how much more productive your bench is this point in time in the season than what it was when AD was running around with D'Lo. Hey, my friend. Hello, girl. Hi there. Hey, lady. Hey. I think it's just so much more love with the dog here. I'm gonna say love. Hey, friend. Hey, have a good day. You know, it's one of those situations where you expect that there's going to be more fire and more passion into the game. Bye, girl. Bye, girl. I'm going to be more passionate into the game. You know what I mean? From challenge to challenge. I think I'm more likely to see fire. And that's what I mean by love. That fire and that passion into, yo, these people beat us in the last 9 times. Let's blow them out. I think Luka's more likely to spearhead that type of energy. I really do. That's why I'm curious to see how he's going to approach his conditioning challenge. You know, people challenging him to get in better shape. If he could take that same energy and pour it into his conditioning and his determination in that way, I wouldn't be surprised if he's in excellent shape 3 years from now. Not just in decent shape, but a damn Spartan. You know what I'm saying? If he brings that fire and that killer to it that he brings to the basketball court, yeah, I'm serious. Work on his core strength, work on his shoulders, you know, work on his legs. Like, that's what I want Luka to do. I really want to see what Luka looks like when he's in ridiculous shape, man. When he completely reinvents his body. Because right now, he looks like a guy that's on the bus. And he's killing people. He look like a dude that's riding around in an Uber, driving an Uber right now. If he focuses on his body, man, and really takes it completely and utterly seriously, oh, man, you talk about MVPs. He gonna win 6, 7 MVPs with his talent. I ain't kidding. No exaggeration at all. BDF44, I thank y'all for watching. I'm out.